Senator from Utah is recognized.
Mr. President, last year, this body, the United States Senate, passed 41 bills from the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. 25 of those bills have been reintroduced. All have bipartisan support. All have been vetted in committee. All are ready to move. Today, I'm asking that we pass 4 of them at the same time as a modest step forward for the kind of open, member-driven process for which the Senate was built and has long existed. The first, from Senator King of Maine, would expand access to the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument, something that passed this body unanimously last year. The second, from Senator Cornyn of Texas, would adjust the boundaries of Big Bend National Park. Again, a common-sense proposal with bipartisan support. The third, from Senator Gillibrand of New York, would establish a National Historic Park at Fort Ontario, the site of the only Holocaust refugee shelter in American history. And the fourth, from Senator Lankford of Oklahoma, would designate the historic Greenwood District, also known as Black Wall Street, as a national monument. The Greenwood District in Tulsa was once a thriving community of black-owned businesses, of professionals and families, until the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921 tragically burned it to the ground. Hundreds killed, thousands left homeless. Designating this site as a national monument is long overdue. And this month, May 31st, in fact, just a few days from now, marks the anniversary of that tragic massacre. With that, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources be discharged and the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of the following bills en bloc. S-282, the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument access, from Senator King. S-1051, Historic Greenwood District, Black Wall Street National Monument, from Senator Lankford. S-432, Fort Ontario Holocaust Refugee Shelter National Historic Park Establishment Act, from Senator Gillibrand. And S-1112, Big Bend National Park Boundary Adjustment Act, from Senator Cornyn. Further, that the bills be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object.
The senator from Oregon is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I would just say to my colleagues, I very much wish that I was not in this position. This morning, I was, like Chairman Lee, I was chairman of the committee, and I know that this is a challenging process to put these measures together. And Chairman Lee and I have worked very closely for years on these issues and a host of others. And I look forward to having plenty of opportunities in the future to continue our good work. So the reason I'm here is I requested that 2 additional strongly bipartisan measures that already cleared the chamber last Congress and had no objections be individually included in the request. One of those bills was S-356, the Secure Rural Schools Reauthorization of 2025, that for years I have championed with my friend and colleague from Idaho, Senator Crapo. And across the West, this legislation has had bipartisan support because it would reauthorize a crucial lifeline, particularly for schools and law enforcement and roads throughout the West. I was in Grant County recently, small community in Eastern Oregon, and they're basically hanging by a thread if they don't get the Secure Rural Schools money restored. So that's why I'm here on the floor today. I'm clear that I want us to work together and to get this done as expeditiously as possible. I'm committed, as I have been over the years working with Chairman Lee, to advance these bipartisan proposals swiftly. I deeply regret being out here and having to express my concern today and to object. And I just hope that we can be back on this floor very, very quickly to pass this good package of bills and make sure that the Secure Rural Schools legislation is included. And for that reason, Mr. President, I object.
The objection is heard.
Mr. President.
The senator from Utah.
Mr. President, I appreciate the kind words of my friend and colleague, the distinguished senator from Oregon. I know our time is short, but I need to respond to a couple of points. First, The bills to which my Democratic colleagues are referring have been cleared. They've been cleared through what's known as our hotline, cleared for passage on the Republican side. Not one objection from one Republican. It's the Democrats that are the holdup there. We are not the ones. Secondly, I want to make very clear that this is a very unfortunate occurrence in the Senate. It's a bad habit we've gotten into, and it's a habit that we must break. The habit involves raising an objection. One of the things you did not hear from my friend and colleague from Oregon is a single objection, not on the merits, not on any legitimate procedural ground, to any of the bills that I just mentioned, not a single one. No, these bills are drawing an objection today, not allowed to pass the Senate today, even though they've passed in the past unanimously. They don't have any substantive objection. They're objecting to these, not because they are unpopular, but because they are popular. When they are popular, when the need for them is due and undisputed, when there is no legitimate argument against them, when the House delegation, the local population, the Senate delegation is all supportive of them, they use them and take them as hostages. And they use them so that the way these things can happen is they'll cobble together a whole bunch of bills. And these bills all accomplish similar things. They have a lot of commonalities. They do similar things. They enjoy similar amounts of support. They've passed in the past. Local communities overwhelmingly support them. It makes sense to offer these up together. We ought to do them individually as often as we can. But what they want to do is what's been done in the past is you cobble together a whole bunch of bills, sometimes a dozen or more, maybe dozens of them, and then time the introduction of that package to a moment just before a major holiday or a long scheduled recess. They bring them forward and they say, take them or leave them. You must take all of them or have none of them. And what that does to public land states like mine, where 67% of the land is owned by the U.S. government, we're beholden to everything, puts us in an impossible position. Usually these deals are put together by 2 or 3 people in secret, and they bring it forward at the last possible minute with no time for debate, no time for amendment, no time to say, okay, this one doesn't belong, the others are fine. Take it or leave it. It's extortion. We've got to end that process. There is not one legitimate reason why we shouldn't pass any one of these 4 bills. Let's get this done today. I find it tragic that this drew an objection.
Senator from Oregon.
Just to briefly respond, because we're hearing about hostages and extortion and all this kind of thing. I just want my colleague to know, because he and I have worked together for years and years, and we've never had a difference of opinion that was based on somebody trying to take hostages and these kinds of things. This is about something that is really, in my communities, a question of whether they're going to make it in terms of keeping the schools open. There are no objections to what Senator Crapo and I have been trying to do here. Let me repeat that. No objections. And throughout the West and the federal government, like my colleagues state, the federal government owns much of our land. People are waiting to see if we'll work together and fix this. And I want to tell my colleague, I'm happy to join him in 20 minutes if we have worked this out, and we'll be done. And as my colleague says, we'll go home and say we got something else done that was constructive. So I want to renew my point. This is not about politics. It's been bipartisan. There are no objections. And I stand willing with my staff to join the Lee's staff right now. We work together over the next few minutes. We have a unanimous consent request, and we're done. I yield the floor.
Mr. President?
Senator from Utah.
I've got colleagues ready to speak, and I just need 10 seconds here. Look, I respect and appreciate my friend and colleague from Oregon. And it was not to him personally that my comments about taking bills hostage was drawn, but this is a process that has happened in the past over and over and over again. This is how it's playing out. As to these bills, I reiterate, there is not one Republican senator objecting to them. Bring them forward. Let's pass them now. There are problems. I don't know what they are or why they would arise. They're on the Democrat side, not ours. But that's not our problem. It shouldn't be an impediment for Senator Cornyn's bill, or Senator Langford's bill, or Senator Gillibrand's bill, or for Senator King's bill, that the Democrats can't get their act together, that for some reason they're not willing to support that legislation. This is unfortunate. We've got to fix it. Thank you.